and we are going to move on to our next session. Our next session, we have a incoming college freshman is going to share about her road to Carnegie Mellon. And actually, I can honestly say that I met our next speaker before she was born. Like, how do you say that? Like, how can you do that? Well, actually, you know what? I worked with her father when he was new to Cisco. And so I did know about Adithi when she was in the oven. Her father's now VP at Splunk. And so I was excited last year when he reached out and he said, hey, you know, my daughter's interested in cybersecurity. Can we do some kind of internship for her? And I said, yeah, that would be fun. And she was, when I met her the first time, she was awesome. She was interested in the intersection of cybersecurity and policy, which is, I mean, I haven't found somebody with that interest, but it's very much needed, and especially in the face of everything that happened in the pandemic. So Adithi's going to discuss the development of her interests as a high school student, all the different things that she's done, and she actually has done quite a bit, and especially what she's done in the intersection of cybersecurity, technology, and policy. A fun fact about Adithi is that she loves to sing, and in her spare time, she says you can often find her singing Ariana Grande songs, and I bet she totally rocks at it. Adithi, take it away.
Thank you so much for the introduction and, of course, your continued mentorship, Michelle. I'm just going to share my screen and show the presentation. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Adithi Jawahar, and I am so excited to be here today. I just graduated from high school, and I'll be attending Carnegie Mellon in the fall to study data science with a minor in information security, privacy, and policy. I'm even wearing my merch today. Today, I'll be discussing my road to Carnegie Mellon University and how I really developed my interests in the intersection of big data, cybersecurity, and policy. Throughout high school, I completed a lot of different activities that I guess really helped me in the college application process. And today I'll focus on the activities I completed relating to cybersecurity, as well as some detail as to how I completed these activities. Just a reminder, if you guys have any questions, put it in the Q&A feature of Zoom and I'll address those questions at the end. Okay, so as I said, today I'll go into detail on how I got interested in this field, how I gained relevant knowledge in high school, opportunities I was involved with during high school, and how I finally chose a college to attend. Okay, I think the first time I truly got interested in cybersecurity was in elementary or middle school. It wasn't much, but my dad was always obsessed with Samsung phones, and my mom always raved about iPhones. So as a middle schooler, I just began researching a lot about the two different kinds of phones and the privacy and security differences between Apple and Android. And that really sparked an interest in me to research further. And that's when I kind of thought that cybersecurity could be a really cool topic to learn more about. And so over the next few years, I would just read random cybersecurity books here and there. I was also lucky that I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a very high-tech capital. And I was also inspired at home as both my parents work in tech, which is very common here in the Bay Area. So when high school started, I knew I wanted to continue my interests. And so at our first club fair at school, a lot of high schools do these sorts of club fairs. I looked around for any technology related club that I could possibly find. The two clubs that I thought really caught my attention were the Girls Who Code Club and then the Cybersecurity Club. I was a part of both all 4 years of high school, but I was definitely more involved with the Cybersecurity Club as I realized my interest in cybersecurity, and I'll go into a little more depth on this later on. I decided to join my school's cybersecurity club my freshman year of high school, and I began doing Cisco networking for my club. I mostly practiced with things like packet tracers, and I expanded my knowledge through local competitions my school club got involved in. I also read through the CCNT ICND1 book, which helped me a lot with Cisco networking because it gave me technical knowledge, but it also gave me the interest to pursue that technical knowledge further. And that's when I began doing more extracurriculars relating to cybersecurity. And so the more I explored cybersecurity, the more I realized the different aspects to it. And that's when I became super interested in the intersection between cybersecurity and policy. So now that I've talked about what I did before high school and freshman year, I'll talk a little bit more about what activities I got involved with later on in high school as my passions developed. I like to categorize my high school involvement into three categories. So the first category is cybersecurity certifications and other forms of course-based knowledge. The second are opportunities in school, and the third category are opportunities outside of school. Each one of these were key pillars of how they shaped my knowledge and my interests, while the certifications and courses give me more technical foundation skills. The opportunities in my school helped me hone these technical skills with my peers, and it allowed me to give back to my school community. The opportunities outside the school really helped me to round it all with real world exposure. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how I gained cybersecurity knowledge in high school. This was super important for internships I got involved with later on, and it helped create a strong foundation that I was later able to build upon. I think certifications and other cybersecurity courses are an amazing way to gain knowledge, but it's definitely not the only way. There are many ways to gain cybersecurity related knowledge in high school, and I'll be covering a few other ways later on. The first course-based thing that I completed was the CCNT certification, which is a Cisco certification for an entry-level networking technician. I completed this early on in my sophomore year of high school, and I do feel like this was the perfect time for me to complete this certification because I had completed just enough of high school for me to explore my interests, but it also gave me a lot of time to expand on the knowledge that I had gained from the certification. In order to achieve the CCNT certification, I studied Cisco networking for a few months at home every day after school using the CCNT ICND 1 book. And it taught me network fundamentals and it taught me other things like infrastructure services. I practiced with something called Packet Tracer. And for those of you that are not familiar, it's a tool that helps you simulate a real world networking environment. And it's a really cool tool, which helped me get a lot of hands-on experience on the topics that I was learning in the book. And finally, to gain the credential, I took a proctored exam at a testing center. And once I passed the test, I immediately realized that I could teach these same concepts to people in my school, people in the cybersecurity club at my school. And so that is what I did. There weren't too many people interested in networking at my school club. And so I introduced many people to the topic. I also completed the Stanford Advanced Computer Security Certificate, which I received by completing 8 graduate level cybersecurity courses at Stanford. The courses were related to topics like information and network security, cryptography, web application, and mobile security. I was able to achieve this certification alongside an internship I was involved with later on, which I will go into more depth on. And then finally, the third course-based thing I did relating to cybersecurity were Carnegie Mellon cybersecurity courses, which allowed me to apply my knowledge and get a better understanding of data-driven decision-making. I also did want to pursue the certification called Certified Ethical Hacker, which I'm sure many of you might be familiar with, but classwork and other extracurriculars made me back out. And this is something that I think is really important to recognize, but I think it's very important for high school students to prioritize and balance workload. You know, there's definitely a life to live as a high schooler, and it's important that high schoolers find that balance so you don't actually miss out on being a teenager. And I'm very happy that I did find that balance because it really made things a lot easier for me. So now that I've covered the first category of my high school involvement, I'll move on to the two other categories, which are opportunities I was involved with within my school and opportunities I was involved with outside of my school. So within my school, I served as the president of the Cybersecurity Club. As president of the club, I taught my club cybersecurity concepts and I encouraged more people to just become more interested in cybersecurity. I was also very interested in applications of cybersecurity in the business world. And so I gained business knowledge through an organization called DECA, which I'm sure some of you might be familiar with. And it's a global business organization for high schoolers and college students. And through this organization, I served as president of the entire Northern California district, which was a cool experience because it helped me learn how important teamwork was, but it also allowed me to meet a lot of people with differing interests throughout the state. In addition to these, I made sure in high school to take courses that colleges look for in students applying as tech majors. And I think everyone should try to do this. I think many high schools offer classes that are a great foundation for any tech related majors at colleges. And so those are a great way to expand your knowledge. I personally took 14 AP classes, but I really found that the AP classes related to math, such as AP Calculus, AP Statistics, and as well AP Computer Science, were the classes that colleges were really looking for in a student. I was also told early on that colleges wanted to see well-roundedness in a student. And so I made sure to take AP classes that were related to other subjects as well. Now on to the internship opportunities I was involved with during high school. I think high school is an amazing time to start interning because it's a great time to figure out your passions and learn what you want to pursue in the future. I touched on this a little bit in the panel yesterday, but these days especially, a lot more people are getting involved with internships in high school, and there's many more organizations that are offering these internships. And so I think it's important for high schoolers to take up these opportunities and work to advance their knowledge in fields that they're already interested in and learn real world application and hands-on experience. I think some of the biggest benefits of doing an internship in high school are obviously huge learning opportunities, but also it allows you to connect with industry luminaries, and it gives you hands-on experience that you truly can't replicate through anything else. Internships really allow you to gain valuable knowledge from industry professionals. Like I said, you can't get this anywhere else. And the biggest thing I think is that it allows you to apply your current knowledge and explore different aspects to the fields that you're already interested in. Especially in high school, I feel like it can provide you with valuable skills that you can use in your daily life at school and any clubs you may be a part of at school. I think the biggest thing that I was able to learn from internships was I was able to understand how executives and working professionals try to balance security and privacy in the real world. As a high schooler, I feel like a lot of us tend to overlook the intersection of security and privacy in the real world. But internships can really open your eyes to look further. For example, prior to my internships, I was pretty familiar with cybersecurity concepts through certifications like the CCENT and security courses at Stanford. But through the internships, I was able to understand how I could apply these concepts to real world problems. Under Michele Guel's guidance and mentorship, I was able to complete an internship where I researched contact tracing apps that help healthcare professionals with monitoring outbreaks of COVID and spread. Just for some context, I did this internship in the peak of COVID's first wave last year, and contact tracing and related privacy issues were a huge topic at the time, as well as the security and privacy concerns involved with it. Contact tracing involves interviewing those with COVID-19 to identify who they've interacted with, and who they might have given the disease to. And it calls for recommendations or testing, and it looks for those in contact with COVID and kind of monitors how it is being spread. Since it does involve tracking, there are various security risks associated with it, especially because there's so much valuable personally identifiable information that is taken and stored in these contact tracing apps. So contact tracing requires the tracking of those infected with public health staff. And as I said before, since it requires tracking, it's an easy prey for attackers because it relies on things like geolocation tracking, and it gives the app a lot of information about the activities of the average user. And there is a lack of comprehensive privacy law, which makes contact tracing apps hard to control. And as a result, it can give developers more control than they ethically should. And so in this internship, I was able to interview many industry professionals to hear their opinions on data privacy concerns involved with contact tracing apps. And at the end of this opportunity, I was then given the opportunity to present my findings and conclusions to a Women in Cybersecurity meeting at Cisco, which was an amazing learning experience. I mainly looked at secure ways to implement contact tracing apps, as well as research on how these implementations have worked in the past or in other countries. Under Michele Guel's guidance, I was also able to understand other applications of contact tracing, such as its possible applications in developing nations. So here's a quick summary of what I concluded from this amazing internship and some of the main ideas that I then included in a final research paper. I concluded in that while contact tracing apps may be beneficial to the communities they're impacted in, it does really require the cooperation of many other factors. A large number of people must use the app, and it's best for there to be one centralized app to organize this information. Obviously, you need security protocols like multi-factor authentication, encryption, and consumer confidence has to be slowly gained. And so this was something that I really focused on in the internship. And so in order to gain consumer confidence, an idea that I had was to subset the population and apply the app to narrower groups to allow implementation of contact tracing apps more seamlessly. And so while encryption, multi-factor authentication are essential to creating a secure contact tracing app, many policy-based controls also need to be put into place. And so that ties back to my interest in the intersection of cybersecurity and policy, because I really researched how important it is for government involvement and how the government is going to have to regulate the information being stored and spread related to COVID-19. There must be regulations, including mandating the use of one app, not multiple, the setup of review boards by government agencies to review apps, and increased regulation of who can have access to certain information. It's important for the United States to analyze the steps of other countries as well to see how they've countered this pandemic, while also maintaining its core values that protect other people's personal information. Under Michele Guel's guidance, I was truly able to understand applications of contact tracing apps and how its security concerns can really impact the real world. And I'm extremely fortunate to have had that opportunity. The other internship I completed was under the guidance of a Stanford professor, Dr. Neil Daswani. In this internship, I contributed to his new cybersecurity book called Big Breaches. Here's the book that I helped to contribute to. It's an amazing book. I think it's a great read for anyone interested in cybersecurity, no matter your level, no matter which aspect of cybersecurity you're involved with, because this book really does touch on the many different aspects. And so this is a book I definitely recommend to everyone. In this book, I helped research breaches, their timelines, as well as the US government's involvement. Here I focused on the importance of data-driven decision-making in recent security breaches and the intersection between security and policy in a more organizational setting. So now that I've talked about what I did in high school, let me talk a little bit about how I actually decided on a college. Deciding on a college and the whole college admissions process, it can definitely be very stressful. And I'm sure that anyone that has gone through this can definitely agree. Things have changed a lot during the last year with the pandemic. So that was definitely hard to navigate around, especially considering it wasn't possible to tour many colleges, and the changes from the pandemic made it harder for me to get advice from recent high school graduates since their experience was a lot different from mine. So for those high schoolers attending, it's good to get started early and have an organized view of what you're looking for, but obviously don't get stressed out too much. For example, I just created a master spreadsheet, as most people do, and I wrote down all the names of colleges I was interested in, the majors and minors that they were offering, as well as other qualities I found to be really unique for certain colleges. Once I created this spreadsheet, what really started sticking out was the colleges that I did not want to go to, the colleges that didn't seem like they were the best fit for me. It also showed me which schools offered an interdisciplinary combination of majors and minors, as well as the flexibility around it. I was very set on having a major and minor combination that allowed me to explore both data science and cybersecurity and allowed me to intersect these two, as well as explore cybersecurity policy. And so I wanted to go to a school that offered me the interdisciplinary opportunities to do so. And so that's why I chose Carnegie Mellon. It had been my dream school forever, so I applied early decision, which is a binding process. I'll be majoring in data science, specifically stat and machine learning, and I will be minoring in information security, privacy, and policy. I'm very, very excited for the fall, and I look forward to expanding my knowledge in new ways. If any of you have any questions about like what college to apply to, what majors you should pick, definitely reach out to me, and I will totally help you with that because I just went through that as well, and um, it was definitely a very interesting but stressful experience. Okay, does anyone have any questions? I think I'll address the. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, there is.
Yeah, hi Adithi. There are a couple. They are very informative session. I want to thank you. The chat stream has been blowing up. A few people had to leave, and they're like, "Man, I gotta go." But great session. The first one's really simple. I mean, based on what you said in the beginning about your dad being Samsung Android and your mom being Apple iOS, what are you? What do you prefer?
Yeah, I like iOS. I just like the iPhone.
All right, that was an easy one. Okay, so you were talking about several great certification courses in classes that you took. How did you actually find these courses, and how do you get involved in taking these courses as a high school student?
Okay. I think there were like two kinds of courses that I talked about. The first one was like course-based knowledge, and that was things like the CCNT certification. And I think you can find a lot of certifications on the internet if you just search up like reputable, like good certifications that you can do. I know another one that a lot of people do is a CompTIA. That's something that could be cool to look into. When talking about like courses that you could actually take at your school, I think a lot of schools offer a lot of good AP classes, which are not related to cybersecurity, but it gives you a good foundation that colleges would look for if you're applying to any sort of tech major. And so, in terms of that, for AP classes, I definitely just say take all the AP math and computer science related classes you can at your school, because that will definitely help set you apart in the college admissions process.
Awesome, thanks, Adithi. This kind of interesting question because you did a fabulous job on the presentation, and the one you did at Cisco just as well. Somebody's saying like, "Wow, how long did it take you to put together the presentation?"
This presentation, I don't even know how long it took me to put together.
Is that meaning it was a long time?
No, I don't think it took too long, to be honest. Oh, I see a
Yeah.
few more questions in the chat.
Yeah.
We've been discussing whether in college I should major in data science or software engineering. What do you think would be the better way to go? I think you should just go with whatever you're interested in, what you feel you're interested in. I think the biggest thing to think about is that once you enter college, you can definitely change it up once you enter college and you realize what you're interested in and what you're not interested in. So I think a lot of colleges, especially these days, they're very flexible in their majors and minors. So if you enter college and you want to major in one thing, but then you realize you want to major in something else, as long as you show that interest, I'm sure it can't be too bad to switch over.
I would agree. You're looking at them too. You see one you want to answer?
What do you have any advice for people think of quantum computing, given that the field might have an impact on cybersecurity? I think Michele Guel would be better at answering that question.
Yeah, actually, and tomorrow you'll see it on a slide, right? Quantum computing, and just as a comparison, right? So when I worked at NASA Ames many years ago, the Cray supercomputer, which I worked on, was huge, right? It's about 3 feet tall, 3 feet in diameter. Today, these little things have more computing power than the Cray supercomputer. So in another 5 or 10 years, or even 15 years, quantum computing is going to be more commonplace. And that means perhaps potentially all crypto is possible to decrypt. And it's going to definitely have an impact on the cybersecurity industry. So for those folks that like to eat crypto Cheerios for breakfast, that's what I call crypto folks, it's definitely an interest, an area to get into. I'm looking on here. In your search, in your big spreadsheet of colleges, Adithi, were there any Ivy colleges that offered cybersecurity that you saw?
There was nothing that really stood out to me. You know, I was looking at a lot of colleges. I had a huge spreadsheet that I started off with, and for me, I think I was definitely set on Carnegie Mellon from the start because this has been a school that, you know, since my freshman year of high school, all I've been thinking about is Carnegie Mellon, Carnegie Mellon, Carnegie Mellon. So I think I was definitely biased to that on my spreadsheet. I probably just threw out everything else on purpose, but um, I really could not see myself at any other school as a best fit just because I didn't feel like it was the best fit for me. But I think for other people, you know, different schools could be the best fit for you. And so I think you really need to research the school a lot. And for me, what I did was I attended a lot of virtual tours and informative sessions. I actually met up with some of the data science advisors, the cybersecurity policy advisor at CMU, and I emailed them and I asked for like Zoom conversations even before I applied to the school, like a year before I applied. And that was when I was really able to understand what the school was offering and how passionate the teachers there were. And that's when I got really drawn to the school.
Okay, great. Someone is actually asking if you'd be willing in whatever form to at least share the list of colleges that you had on your spreadsheet, without any personal information, obviously, just the name of colleges. So you can maybe have a way to answer that offline, but somebody was interested in that because like how do you know there could be some college in some state that you didn't know was an outstanding school that had a great a program that actually fit your needs. So people are like, well, how do we actually find those schools? How do you do the research to know what might be a good college to go to?
A quite easy way to do it. And that way to do it is you just search up like cybersecurity and then you search up the word colleges, and it's going to show you all the colleges that have anything related to cybersecurity. And there were definitely a lot of schools that had things that I was interested in. But at the end of the day, I also wanted to look at like the environment in the school. And there's definitely other factors other than the major and minor. And so it's important that, you know, each high schooler looks at those other factors as well before making a final decision. But the whole college admissions process is definitely stressful. So I
Yeah.
just say do as much research as you can as early on.
All right. Good. Okay, well, I think we'll begin wrapping up that. There's a few more questions, but we can deal with offline. Adithi, I want to thank you. Outstanding job once again. I know you're going to be successful. You've already done a lot. I know you're going to continue to do a lot. I'm sure your parents are very proud of you. So thank you for coming today and sharing about your journey.